destruction to the dead. The reckoning's begun, the wrath has been unleashed, the witching hour's here. Scorching the world, no mercy, dark holy war. Where the angels fly, the hellion rising. Where the angels fly, the hell.
Welcome by For the Passion, Not the Fashion YouTube channel. We are here with Katon from Hirax.
Hello.
Welcome, Katon. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm good. Little bit tired. Not really extremely tired, but a little bit. We just got back from Chicago, where we played at the Legions of Metal Festival, which was great. Us and Watchtower played together. So that
I saw your T-shirt.
Yeah, it was really cool. And it's nice to play with bands that we like. So
yeah,
that was great.
Cool. Hey, we go get back in history, and then we build up till now. So there are pretty much questions. So I hope you're not too tired, because I have a lot of questions for you.
Yeah. That's what metal is all about. Just making yourself get through even when you're tired. So no problem.
Okay, yeah, that's true. Hey, first of all, I like to start from the beginning. So where are you currently based? Where you were living now? And where did you grow up as a kid, teenager? And how did your love for heavy music started?
Well, I'm in Long Beach, California, which is basically a part of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
The rest of the band's based out of Los Angeles. And I grew up in a place called Buena Park, California, which is basically like a suburb, but also there's a place there called Knott's Berry Farm. So it's a smaller version of like a Disneyland, but there's a place called Knott's Berry Farm, which I grew up by there. And it's a working class. A lot of people grew up on hard rock and heavy metal there. That's basically how I got into it. When my family moved there, I was around a lot of kids that listened to heavy metal and hard rock. So growing up around Black Sabbath and Thin Lizzy and stuff like that, it just became like that was like a gateway drug to all the other heavy music that I got into.
Cool. Hey, and at what age you started Hirax, and in what year and what age, and was Hirax your first band?
Hirax wasn't my first band, but the year that the band really started to hit was 83, 84, right around that period of time.
Mm-hmm.
We were called different names before that. We were called Chaos. My first band that I ever started was called High Voltage, because I was so into AC/DC.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so it evolved. Hirax went from Chaos to Hirax, and then 1984 we released our first demo tape, and that started everything. That demo tape, I had no idea what it was going to do. And then the tape trading was going on. And, we started getting tape traded with all these other demos that were happening. Obviously, there was the No Life Till Leather was one of the biggest demos of the time. But kids were, trading that, us, bands like Trouble from Chicago, a lot of the European bands. Obviously, there was the stuff that was coming up too. There were bands like Destruction, and even before they were called Creator, I think they were called
Tormentor.
Yeah, Tormentor, and also Tankard and Sodom and all those bands. So it was really cool, a great time to be a part of all that. Obviously, there was the Bay Area bands too, bands like Exodus and Testament. Even before they were called Testament, they were called Legacy. And our first show in the Bay Area officially was where we played at Ruthie's Inn, and we played. It was a great bill that night. It was Testament opening. They were called Legacy at that time. Hirax, Megadeth, and then Exodus. So that was like our introduction to the Bay Area. And I remember that show vividly because I remember James Hetfield and Cliff Burton came in to see our set, So
oh, wow.
it was pretty intense to have those guys in the front row watching. It was not just them though. It was Gary Holt was there and a guy named Toby Rage. So
The
it was
stage diver.
yeah, the roadie / stage diver.
Yeah.
So it was a great period to be involved in all that thrash metal. I mean, it was the birth of it, and to be a part of it was an honor. And who would have ever thought 40 plus years later it would still be going strong, but it is. So that was like our humble beginnings. I mean, we played between Los Angeles and San Francisco quite a bit. And when we started going up to the Bay Area, we quickly realized that that was a really happening scene. I mean, LA was great too, though. I think people forget that, you know, there was Slayer, Dark Angel, Hirax, Abattoir, Agent Steel. A lot of, you know, even before that, there were bands like Armored Saint and Savage Grace running around, you know. So both scenes from the Bay Area to Los Angeles had a very strong thrash metal and heavy metal scene. I mean, obviously, a lot of people, when they think about LA, they just think about a lot of the hair metal bands because a lot of that was going on too. I mean, Motley Crue, Rat, all those bands, even Steeler with Yngwie Malmsteen, all those bands were going on too at the same time. So, but yeah, I mean, I think it made for a great scene because also bands that were coming out of LA like us and Slayer and Dark Angel were playing more angrier music than that other stuff.
I love them.
Yeah, it was cool. So yeah, that was the beginning of Hirax, and I mean, it just got better. We just started playing with more bands. We, you know, started playing with Death Angel, and we did some shows with them and Slayer and Megadeth. We played with quite a bit in the early days. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm so happy to still be doing it, and I would have never thought that the fan base would just continue to grow, but it has.
Cool. A friend of mine, he ran a fanzine in the 80s, and I know Ernst. You know him, Ernst?
Ernst?
Yeah, from Holland.
Yeah. That was a classic metal zine. I remember that.
He told me that he's a cool guy, and he told me he had a fanzine from Hirax back in the 80s.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's funny. Holland was one of our strongholds in the beginning. Like, what's crazy, our first fan club was in Holland.
Yeah, he was it too.
And even if you look on the first Hirax album, the Raging Violence album, on the back,
yeah,
our fan club is based out of Holland. So
that's cool.
It's great. No, I mean, we still love it there. I mean, normally when we've come through, we played other parts. We haven't just played the major cities. We played small places. We did the first Dokkum open air.
Dokkum open air. Yeah, in the north of Netherlands.
Yeah, we did the very first one, and it was great going to that city. It's a beautiful city. So, you know, Holland's very important to us, and that's kind of what's great about us coming back now. We're going to be finally doing more shows there, and it's a great scene, man. I mean, I think it's kind of underrated that people don't think about Holland enough, but there's a great heavy metal scene there, and there's a lot of headbangers there, and they're loyal. That's what's so cool. Like when we go back, we see a lot of the same people that have come to our shows before. So I have a lot of respect for Holland, and my wife loves it there. So every time we go to Holland, if we have a couple of days off to just hang out there, we try to go around. It's very people friendly, and you know, there's a lot of bikes, a lot of bikes. But a great place to go. Love Holland.
I know a lot of people who always were in the 80s at every concert, and you see them still at every concert every week, you know?
Yeah, it's great. And like I said, that was like in 1985. They were like outside of the United States for Hirax. Our first fan club was in Holland. So everything else spread from there. Like the UK, we started getting known there, and Germany, obviously. But Holland was there for us from the beginning.
So I have this question actually for later, but now we're talking about Holland. I want to ask you in general, do you like Europe, and does Netherlands belong to your favorites? But I'm sure it belongs to your favorites.
Holland's one of them. I mean, we've even the first time we came to play there, we had such a good time. It was ridiculous. Like it's a very open-minded culture. A lot of really nice people. Some of the tallest people I've ever seen in my life are in Holland, you know? Very tall, man.
I know.
And you're a shorter person, when you go there, you're like, these guys are giants, So Holland's very interesting to us, and we always try to take time out to learn more about the culture and the history when we go there. But Holland's one of our favorites. Obviously, Germany's up there.
Yeah,
Really,
Germany's great too. I love it.
yeah, great heavy metal fans. I actually like Spain a lot.
Yeah.
Spain, really cool. France for us is very awesome. Like when we play France, we usually do like at least 4 shows in France.
Oh wow.
Yeah, France is. I
It's
don't
not
know.
for every band. It's not for every band.
Yeah, you know what's weird is it's hard to, you never know what country is going to be, so crazy for your music. But for some reason, when we play France, it's always crazy. More and more people show up. I mean, we've even had promoters give us bonuses when we played in France because the shows have done so well.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so we love playing there. But, you end up falling in love with different cities for different reasons. Like I really like Holland because it's so clean and beautiful. And, there's boats that, come through these tunnels.
Yeah,
you see.
not in my city. I'm from Tilburg.
Okay. Well, the other cities that we have visited, like it's just amazing to see people like it's like the boats, their car, they just drive them through these little water tunnels, and you're like, wow, this is so beautiful, But we've always had a good time there. The food's really good. So it's one of the top places on our list. But like I said, we've been pretty fortunate when we go through Europe. The fans are really good to us. I mean, even Poland for us is amazing. Poland's another place that we play a lot of concerts when we come through Europe.
And but I know about Europe and about worldwide. You're like me. You love bands, also like heavy metal bands from all over the world. Also bands who doesn't sing in English. You like Aria, Cruise, and Sortilege, and Hirax, and all these French and Russian and Polish bands and Dutch bands.
Yeah, I think what it is like I just like what's good. And I think that language is, if you're open-minded to it, it's always good to learn anyway. So whether it's Dutch or German or French or Italian, there's a great Italian bands too. So I just think that if it's good, it shouldn't matter what the language is. And I think also heavy metal, we should be open to other cultures because every culture has some great heavy metal band. Like even if you think about Spain, Baron Rojo is they're one of the greatest bands of all time. When you think of, Miro, amazing band, which a lot of people don't know about. So you're showing your expertise by mentioning that band. But when you go through Spain, if you don't know about Miro, then you really don't know what's going on. They're an incredible band. They kind of remind me of there's different countries like Australia. There's some great metal from there. Just so many great countries. I mean, you could go. There's at least 4 or 5 great bands from each country, and even like we were talking about bands from like even Russia. There's a lot of great bands. Master,
Russia,
Keplov or Kiplov. So there's a lot of great stuff all over the world. What I love about heavy music too, though, is we really don't care about politics. We just care about good music. So no matter what country you're from, even if there's some crazy shit going on in the world, which there is a lot of, the music usually makes everybody forget about all the politics.
That's true. Yeah, we are, like you always say, the metal family worldwide. Metalheads are, of course, there are some people who can't get along with others, but in general, people like each other and are at least respect each other or tolerate each other,
Yeah, I'd say that's the perfect way of looking at it. It's almost like we lay our weapons down at the heavy metal door when we go inside, and we forget about all that shit, and we just focus on the music and good players, good musicians. That's really what matters the most. And but at the same time, it's great when you see people find out about other things from other cultures, whether it's food or beer or whatever.
Yeah,
true. You go to another country and learn about something they have and go, wow, why didn't I know about this? So I think that's kind of like why most heavy metal people like to travel, because it's almost like you're a Viking. You get to go conquer another country and learn about their culture, It's great.
I always say, heavy metal fans, if you have a record store, I heard stories about people who have a record store in a normal record store. I have also a label, but a real record store in town, and say we couldn't a normal record store, not a metal store, just a regular metal store, and they say we couldn't survive if there were no metalheads because they're the only people who buy a lot of records.
Yeah, yeah, and they're so supportive. And
Yeah.
they will even try to help a record store if they know they're on hard times. That's what's so great about heavy metal fans. I
Yeah.
mean, even at our shows, like recently, there's kids that are so glad that we're there. They even, give, like when they buy merchandise, they'll even leave a tip just trying to help the band, And I think that's what makes us work even harder. Like even this coming up year, we're going to work even harder because we have a new album coming out. And
Yeah, I want to
we
ask you
have
also.
kids
Yeah.
coming to the shows that are some new fans and a lot of the old fans. So that inspires you every time. I mean, it's amazing what is going on for us right now, like the concerts coming up and the European tour. And then even when we get back from the European tour, there's some dates we're doing with Sodom in the United States. So there's a lot going on.
Cool. Hey, and what bands or artists influenced you mostly when you started?
Oh, I mean, it's great now that I get to look back at that, because a lot of those bands I still listen to. So I still listen to Thin Lizzy and UFO.
On the back, yeah.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, I worship that stuff. So I'd say Thin Lizzy, UFO, obviously Black Sabbath, and a few different periods of Black Sabbath, whether it's the Born Again era or the early Ozzy stuff or the Dio stuff. The first two Dio records with Sabbath are amazing. Even the Dehumanizer record's really good. Gosh, I should look around the room here. Grew up with stuff like Alice Cooper.
Yeah.
Obviously, Motorhead's an inspiration. It really helped us to establish our speed. Growing up as kids, hearing some of those Motorhead tracks. If you don't admit that didn't influence the speed that you play at, you're crazy. So Lemmy's been an inspiration for decades. Obviously early Van Halen, Kiss, bands like that. You can't, I mean, if you were growing up in the 70s and 80s, if those bands didn't inspire you in one way or another, you're crazy. But I love all that stuff. Even the first two Ozzy solo albums with Randy Rhoads, I think those records are very special. I kind of sometimes just even like to look around in my room and just see stuff that's hanging up, Iron Maiden, obviously, especially the Paul Di'Anno stuff. I love the Paul Di'Anno era. Don't get me wrong, I love Bruce Dickinson also, and he's done a hell of a job. But I think it's two different things. Like when you look at the Iron Maiden, I think there's two different things there. And so the early Dio stuff, I mean, Di'Anno stuff, we're talking about so much metal right now. But the early Di'Anno stuff has a very special place in my heart, as well as AC/DC. Obviously, the Bon Scott stuff I really love. And he's a pretty big influence, even though you might not be able to hear that in my vocal style. But I think his delivery and his attitude was, for me, I always wanted our band to be a band for the fans. And that's kind of like something that inspired me about AC/DC. They were always a band for the fans. They're a people's band. And I feel that Hirax is a people's band. I don't think we're above the fans. I think we're right there with them,
Yeah. Cool. And now we're talking about music. Do you also listen to other kinds of music or just metal or hard rock?
Yeah, no, I listen to lots of different styles, even some disco shit from the 70s and some early 70s funk. But even, just hard rock, great singers though. But I mean, I listen to even classical and opera. Love one of my all-time favorite singers is Luciano Pavarotti.
From Italy.
Yeah, I have a lot of his records. I love.
Very cool.
To me, he's like the Rob Halford of opera, but it's different. But I'm just saying that the stuff he can do with his voice is phenomenal. But yeah, I mean, David Bowie, The Sweet. The Sweet's one of my all-time favorite rock bands. I think The Sweet are phenomenal. But to me, they're like almost heavy metal. Like if you listen to some of the Sweet songs, it's basically early heavy metal. T-Rex. I like T-Rex. Some people probably see you're asking good questions because some people would not even think I listen to that kind of stuff. But I like.
But I heard also you also lived or you lived in Compton or in real LA, yeah? Is that true?
Yeah. I lived close to that, but I grew up actually in a place called Orange County, which is basically, where Buena Park is. And in Orange County, there's places like Anaheim, which is where the Anaheim Stadium is.
Yeah, that's the Mighty Ducks.
Yeah. And that's where we would go see concerts. Like we go see, I saw Sabbath there. I saw Van Halen there. So Anaheim's part of Orange County, but LA is right there too. Like LA is right next door to us. So if you were going to Hollywood to see concerts, and I saw a lot of the early Motley Crue shows.
Oh, also,
before they even had an album, I saw Motley Crue 3 times.
Oh wow!
I was lucky. I saw them. One time I saw Motley Crue headline, and it was Motley Crue, Rat, and Steeler. Steeler had Yngwie Malmsteen.
Yeah.
Rat had Jake E. Lee. He was still in Rat.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I've seen some really great shows. I've seen them playing. I've seen Motley Crue play in front of 15 people.
Wow. Actually, my favorite hair bands are Rat. I love Rat. Rat and Twisted Sister.
Twisted Sister. Yeah.
Was Twisted Sister, Rat. And also early Crue, that's the main, that's.
Oh yeah, that's the bread and butter. We can go a little deeper cuts than that. I like the first 2 Black and Blue records.
Oh, they are great too. Yeah, I saw them live in England.
Yeah, the first 2 records are underrated. I don't think they get enough credit. But yeah, Motley Crue when they first came out, they were amazing. I saw them 3 times before the record came out, before the first album came out, and they were on fire. Tommy Lee was a phenomenal drummer, still is very good, but that was one of the things that set them apart, and Mick Mars's guitar tone. But Tommy Lee's drumming, especially by the time you get to the second record and you hear a song like Red Hot.
Yeah.
Drums on Red Hot are smoking. But there's some bands that weren't totally hair bands, but they became more hair bands. Like if you think about it, even Loudness, they didn't really start out as a total hair band. I mean, they had the look, but their style to me was a lot more speed metal. Like if you listen to the Law of the Devil's Land, there's some speed metal tracks on that record. Who else? Even Accept, they got more hair metal after a while, and I love Accept. I mean,
this is the early Accept. So.
Yeah, I think they could do no wrong up till balls to the wall. And even Metal Heart, there's some incredible stuff on those records. Breaker is one of my favorite records. Obviously, Restless and Wild. Jeez, that record's that's a blueprint on how to do heavy metal.
What do you think about Scorpions, for example? They also started as a rock band and later became a little bit of a hair band in the 80s.
I agree 100%. But they were so good. I mean, they're still considered good by today's standards. But even up until, say, Love Drive and Blackout, those records are... But I have to admit, the Uli John Ross stuff is brilliant. And I'm not saying that. A lot of people say that about the early Scorpions, but it really is brilliant. It was explosive. Like if you listen to Virgin Killers, I
have the original with the young lady on it,
Yeah. That's what's great about that record though, it can't be denied. No matter how much they try to even ban that cover, that record is still a masterpiece. It's still a record that people talk about. And even In Trance and Taken by Force, those records are unbelievable. So yeah, the Scorpions are definitely an influence. And even another band that, it's funny that we're talking about these bands that changed their look, but Saxon did the same thing.
Yeah, true. In the 80s also. A lot of bands did in the mid 80s. Yeah. But
even Girl School started out a lot more raw and street looking, and then they got prettier as it went on. Like I think by Play Dirty, they were pretty much dressing up,
Yeah.
But it's okay. I think we're a lot more open-minded to that now than we were back in the 80s. In the 80s, there was divisions, and even if you liked Rat, a lot of people didn't admit it, even though they were still a great band even back then. Like if you listen to the first Rat EP, that's very heavy.
That's great. I have the tattoo of that. Great.
That's awesome. That record's great, and you think
Yeah,
your tough is on there, and
yeah.
it's great
That's
stuff.
but also in the video clip.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's classic stuff. But yeah, so you're talking all those to me are like those are like the big four of the hair metal bands,
For
you
me
know?
too. For me too. Hey, and I'm curious. You know, when I was younger, when I was like a teenager, I was secretly, you know, nobody was knowing this. I liked some old school NWA Public Enemy stuff, you know, and
And that
I
stuff's, dude, that
yeah,
stuff's great.
and I was in America, and I see a lot of people in Europe. It's like metal and hip hop is not a combination, but I see later in the '90s, Biohazard and with Onyx and like Body Count from Ice-T, and I
Yeah,
see a lot of people. Anthrax with Public Enemies,
yeah.
Cypress Hill with you know, you saw it combine metal and hip hop. What do you think about it? Do you like the old LA hip hop? Because that's my favorite, you know. Right?
Well, that stuff's to me, that stuff punk as fuck. Like,
Yeah.
how how can you not like the first NWA record? That record's
Wait,
powerful.
well, you show me. Show you something.
Okay. Yeah, the first NWA record, and even there's
Here,
like, yeah, that's awesome. That is so
easy.
cool.
I
That
have
is
here also on my other leg. I have Paul Baloff.
that's even cooler, man.
Here.
That's great. That is so great. Both of those guys are badasses.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about I think the difference with the NWA record though, that shit, it no matter what, it still sounds new. Like if you put that record on, straight
Pure
out of
trash. Straight out of Compton. Yeah.
yeah, it's basically the bonded by blood of hip hop
Yeah. You agree. I agree. Yeah.
it's so powerful. And what's funny about it, you can actually headbang to that record.
Straight out of Compton. Yeah. Like this. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well,
I
yeah, I
love
mean,
this record too, but I was never open about it, you know, because it was metal, you know, I was a headbanger, you know. I didn't like this other kinds of music, but now this kind of rap I love. But also a friend of mine here in my flat, he's totally into 50s and 60s rock and roll, and and now I start listening to that stuff also a lot. I
yeah,
love
yeah.
it, you know.
I think it's okay to be exposed to it, and then you find stuff that you like. You know, I think,
Yeah,
and also the difference with us when we were in the '80s, we were way younger, and even as now as adults, you'll see younger kids that are hard headed because that's kind of what being young is about. Like you don't know shit yet, you know. So as you
yeah,
get older, it's like having taste in wine or having taste in beer or whatever. Your music taste grows, and so that's
yeah.
why even for me a lot of people freak out when they find out I like this guy named Boney M.
Boney M, yeah, I know that you post sometimes
Yeah,
on
yeah. And
Facebook. Yeah,
they can't believe it, but you know, my taste have grown since I was,
yeah.
21 or 18 or whatever. So it's like there are guys in Germany that are total headbangers who are like way into Boney M too. They're like, dude, we used to watch him on TV and stuff when we were growing up, you know. So a lot of it as you get older, you
Yeah.
don't care what anybody thinks anymore.
No,
You're a lot more honest about what you like, and that's a good thing though. It's like there's so much good music out there. You just have to kind of search around and find the stuff that you like. But I do listen to a lot of different stuff. I mean, I don't even mind the Bee Gees. Be honest with you, I don't mind.
some stuff is good,
Yeah,
or some
some
old school 80s synth pop, you know, like Aha or stuff like this. I love it too. Great singer, Aha.
there's a lot of there's a lot of great Euro synth pop actually. So
Yeah,
it's just a matter of finding the good stuff and the great
yeah.
records. And and I worked in a dance club too for a while as a
Oh,
DJ.
really?
So I learned a lot about all that stuff. But obviously my passion is heavy metal,
Yeah,
but
true.
I'm open to all styles of music. And
Okay,
to
cool.
be honest with you, a lot of those other styles help you with your songwriting. Even if you're a metal guy, you can learn from songwriting from other styles of music.
Cool. It's like nice to speak about. Always like because you know, this was something who never was discussed in the 80s. You know.
Well, I like that too, and I think what's great about it, even Lemmy, and he's
Yeah,
one of
he
my
was.
but even he'll admit that he likes ABBA and that he likes the, stuff like that. So it's pretty cool when you get to a point to where you don't care what people think, because it doesn't change that you are still playing heavy music. I'm still playing heavy music, even though I'm open to a lot of different styles. I mean, I even like flamenco music,
Okay.
I like to hear talent, and I like to hear nice arrangements, but like I said, a lot of those influences I still put into Hirax. People just don't know that it's coming from those places,
Yeah. Because Hirax pure sounds always pure and old school, but we come back later, because I want to follow the question a little bit. Otherwise, I get too chaotic, Hey, what was the first concert and/or festival you have visited, and how was it like in your life?
When I was 15, the first big show I saw was Sammy Hagar as a solo artist opening. He was opening the show, and the next band on the bill, it was 1978. Sammy Hagar opened. The next band on the bill was Van Halen. Their album had just come out. It had only been out 2 weeks, the first album, and they were fucking amazing. Cool. And then the next band on the bill was Black Sabbath, and it was their Never Say Die tour, and they were still very good. They just the difference is Van Halen was young and hungry, and they just came out of the gates and they were on fire, literally. Like, they were so good. But Sabbath was still pretty good and heavy, as always. And then the band that headlined, believe it or not, was a band called Boston. And
I love Boston.
Yeah. Now I appreciate them way more than I did back in the day. But I'll be honest with you. Back then, I was so into Van Halen and Sabbath that I think I watched a couple of Boston songs and left. What's funny, now that I'm a bit older, I wouldn't have left, but when you're younger and you're just like a headbanger, so I didn't really watch too much of Boston. I really, now looking back on it, wish I would have, because their first album, to me, the first Boston album, is a masterpiece. Really is. But that was the first big show I saw: Boston, Black Sabbath, Van Halen, and Sammy Hagar, and that was 1978. And it's kind of funny that Sammy became their singer later on when he used to open for them. So kind of interesting.
That's what you're telling is cool, because you had these 70s, like, first of all, Edward and Alex just moved to America when you saw them, because it was they're actually from Holland.
Yeah.
That's
anybody who, if they're a real Van Halen hardcore fan, should know that. But their father is from Holland, I believe.
They even speak. I saw an interview from the 70s or early 80s from Van Halen, and they still speak more Dutch without a dialect. So they're real Dutch guys.
Yeah, I thought that was great, and I'm glad that they actually started talking about that. People should know that they came from there,
Yeah, from Nijmegen.
But yeah, they became such a huge part of our, especially if you're from Los Angeles, a band like Van Halen, they're our local band. So I was really lucky to see them in 78, because obviously that record is a masterpiece, that first album. I got to see them on that tour, and they were unbelievable. It was a life-changing experience seeing Van Halen in 1978.
And now you talk about local bands. I was always hooked with like American melodic hard rock, like AOR, like Journey, Survivor, REO Speedwagon, Boston, stuff like that. I love that. And I know I was in San Francisco a few years ago, and there was in a record store, it was local bands, and I saw Journey, that was so funny, local bands. Like, this is not local for me, but
such a huge band too.
Yeah.
They were phenomenally big down here. I mean, obviously it spread around the world. They should be. They've got great songs. I mean, jeez. Those early records that they did when Steve Perry first got in the band, those are masterpieces. So even guys, some of the most hard-ass metal guys will admit that they love Journey, because those records are great. You can't deny them, But it is kind of funny that they are a local San Francisco band,
Yeah, for them, yeah. But it's also like the English bands and the European bands were much more heavier and bombastic. than the American bands in those days, like the late 70s, mid 70s, even the late 60s already. There was
Agreed.
a lot of bands from America who always like sounded smooth and commercial, and then you have bands like from Europe, like Black Sabbath and UFO and Rainbow, whatever. All these
Yeah.
bands, they were much more heavier.
Oh,
Deep
yeah.
Purple.
Yeah, it definitely was started. It started out like that. Thank God for the British new wave of heavy metal, because
Oh yeah,
that
yeah,
started flowing. It started flowing into the United States, and I
yeah,
know that had a huge impact on us, especially when thrash metal came along. A lot of that was inspired by the British new wave of heavy metal.
yeah,
So we sped it up. We played really fast, But thank God for that, because I think what it is in the United States, a lot of radio play. So you had to be more melodic to get on the radio, and I think a lot of bands tailored their sound like that. But once
yeah.
you more of the British new wave, and then you started seeing American bands like Riot, and then you started seeing Twisted Sister, and they got a heavy edge too, especially the first record and the second record too. Those records, if you listen to the first Twisted Sister record, to me that record's a masterpiece. Under the Blade's one of my favorite American heavy metal records. So, and then Riot, they gradually got better and better, especially like if you look at Rock City and Narita, those records got better and better. And obviously by the time they got to Fire Down Under, holy shit, they were like a fine-tuned band, But then we also had the Rods,
The Rods with the nephew of Ronnie James Dio.
Yeah, Rock
His nephew.
Yeah. So you got bands like that. I think he might even be the cousin. I don't know. We might have to look that up. I think he's his cousin. So, and he was also an elf. A lot of people don't know that. The guitar player from the Rods was an elf with Ronnie James Dio.
Yeah.
So you got the American bands, and obviously Man of War. And then on the West Coast, some of the bands that people forget about, people forget that Armored Saint was one of the earlier bands too, and they started getting pretty heavy too. I don't really think you can consider them a hair metal band though, because they were more wearing that armor stuff. I don't think you could really consider Armored Saint a hair metal band. But
No.
But it was an interesting period of time to see the transition between the heavier stuff from the UK and say Europe, a lot of European bands. And they want to hit the American shores. All of a sudden, you started seeing American bands get heavier. Even though we did, we had Priest and we had Thin Lizzy and stuff, but it seemed like after the '80s, it got a lot heavier in the States.
Yeah, and if I can suggest you something, please check out the Dutch beat bands. You're familiar with the Dutch beat bands from the '60s?
No, tell me. I'm always willing to learn.
I will send you some stuff. It's bands like Q65, of course, the Golden Earring, but they are big, But in those days, in the late '60s,
stuff's great. Their '70s stuff is amazing.
Yeah, but in the '60s, there was a lot of beat bands, and it was quite hard rock from the Netherlands in the '60s, And it's there's some really good stuff out of the Bintangs, the Q65, Golden Earring, of course. There's a lot of stuff. I will send you some stuff. You can check out.
I'm always willing to learn. I mean, that's what's so great about the best thing for me as being not just a musician but a fan. I'm a fan too, first and foremost.
Yeah.
But
cool.
Traveling to all these other countries, we get to pick up on a lot of different music, or people turn us on to different music. Like even a band like Aria, I'd heard about them, but what really happened is we were on tour in Germany, and a bunch of heavy metal kids showed up to our shows wearing denim and leather, but they had Aria buttons on. And I'm like, tell me more about Aria. They go, if you love Iron Maiden. That was like one of the first things they said.
Yeah, they always say that,
Yeah, you hear that all the time. But a bit of it is true, because if you listen to a lot of the arrangements, a lot of Aria's arrangements are arranged very similar to Iron Maiden. And I think they would even admit it themselves. They have to, But they do it in their own way. And that's one thing that's kind of cool. Like once you listen to Aria and you get used to their music, they do it in their own way. But like I said, with each country, there's a great band. Like even if you look at Poland, there's a band from there called Cat, and I love Cat.
Metal and Hell, 666.
Yeah, right, and 666.
Yeah.
So like I said, each territory has some great bands. Like even in Japan, there's Anthem, Earthshaker, Bow Wow. There's a lot of great bands. So I think that's what's good about traveling and being open to other metal or other music. You just gotta listen when you go to other countries, and people can turn you on to different music.
Yeah, cool. Hey, and is it true you were friends with Metallica back in the day? And how did you remember Cliff Burton?
Well, Cliff, yeah, and I mean, we go way, way back. Even before they were called Metallica, they were called Phantom Lord and Obsession. A lot of people don't know these names. Leather, what were they called? One of their names, I'm trying to remember because it's crazy to think of it now. Leather Charm. They were called
Really?
Yeah, they were called Leather Charm.
Sounds like a hair band.
I know, but look it up.
Okay.
Leather Charm, and Phantom Lord was one. They had even Obsession because they loved UFO. But if you look it up, I'm sure you'll see Leather Charm. But so yeah, we go way back, and then we saw the lineup start to happen. What happened really was that Ron and James were living together in a house, which really is, if you technically look at it, the first Metallica house was in the Los Angeles area, actually Norwalk, California is where the original Metallica house was at. And James and Ron McGovney lived there, and then they got this Danish drummer named Lars.
Yeah.
They found him, and then they got an ad. They were looking for a guitar player. I think it was, I'm trying to remember what the paper was. But anyways, that's how they found Dave Mustaine. But even before that, they had this guy named Lloyd Grant. And Lloyd Grant played on the stuff that ended up on Metal Massacre. And so they kind of evolved. At first, James was just singing. He wasn't playing guitar. And then he started playing guitar and singing. But they looked a lot different back in those days. They wore spandex and all that stuff. And not that they didn't but even on Kill 'Em All, they were still wearing the spandex. But which is no big deal. I'm just saying that you get to see them kind of evolve as a band. And then they went to like more of the jeans look and the denim and all that. But I go way back with them, and to see them kind of come up. I mean, we even did a show, Hirax and Striper, but it was before Striper was called Striper. Yeah, Rock's Regime. And we were called Chaos, and the opening band was Metallica. But they were even good back then. And I remember when they got Dave, and that's when it really started to get good as a band. When they got Mustaine in the band, they became a beast. And he was such an incredible guitar player, especially like not just rhythms, but his guitar solos. When you go back and you listen to the demo, the No Life Till Leather demo, you can hear the brilliance already starting to happen as a guitar player. I think he had a hunger in him that most guitar players don't have, And then when he got kicked out of Metallica, I was around for that too. He just got better because he basically wanted to be a badass and show those guys that he could do good, and he did. So that's why I've always had a lot of respect for Dave. I mean, we still, in a certain capacity, once in a while, we still, are in touch with each other. But Metallica deserve a lot of respect as well because they've done a lot, and they've gone a lot, and they've gone a long time, and it's not easy to have a career like they've had, So, but yeah, I mean, James was always a really great guy, really nice. Actually, he was really quiet in the early days. James didn't really speak a lot. I mean, he was cool and we'd hang out, but he wasn't like a really obnoxious guy. He was actually pretty mellow. Lars was cool, but James was always something about him where you knew that this guy's going to be something. He's just a really good dude. And then obviously Ron was cool, but they had, once they saw Cliff, and I remember when that happened as well, they basically made a deal with Cliff. If he was going to join the band, he said to them that they had to move up to the Bay Area. So that's when they left LA and moved to the Bay Area because they were getting Cliff in the band. And one of the reasons for him to be in the band was that if they were going to have him, they had to move to the Bay Area. And then I saw them with Cliff as well in the early days. I actually went to one of the rehearsals at the house when they moved up to San Francisco, and they had the house there. Now they call that the official Metallica house. And then I saw them a couple of times with Cliff, and they were amazing. Cliff was one of the nicest guys. And I gotta also give credit to Kirk Hammett. He's a really nice guy too. Really, I could see why those dynamics matter in a band when you've got James and you've got Lars, and they're pretty much running the show. But you gotta have somebody like Kurt, who's really mild mannered and just a really good guy, and is willing to be a part of the team. And he's done that. He's done an incredible job. But Cliff was special. You're gonna hear anybody that you talk to about Cliff Burton pretty much tell you the same thing. He was definitely a special human. Not very many people like him. He had his own style. Everything about him was original. Like, look at the way he looks. Look at the pants.
70s.
Yeah,
Well, 70s.
nobody was wearing pants like him, really, like those big bell bottoms. And he liked what he liked. Like, he would tell people he liked Blue Oyster Cult. He liked ZZ Top. He liked Rush. He liked heavy stuff too. The times that I hung out with him, he would talk a lot about Merciful Fate. That was one of his favorite bands. That's basically when I hung out with Cliff Burton, how we bonded was over Merciful Fate. That's a pretty good way to start a relationship, And then, when he passed, it changed the band, in a different way, but they still went on to become a great band. But they were such a different band too with him. And luckily I got to see them with him. He was amazing. I mean, I'll never forget the first tour, the Kill 'Em All tour with Raven. And I saw that at a club called the Country Club in Los Angeles. Yeah. And they were amazing. They actually stole the show. And I love Raven. They're like one of the most legendary bands you're going to talk about. But Metallica, when they were that young and on fire, they're pretty hard to stop. But yeah, so nothing but fond memories about them. I mean, Cliff was a very nice guy, way down to earth. Like, I think that's why now he's such an icon, because he was the real deal. Like, that's the main thing people need to know about Burton. He was the real deal, real heavy metal guy, liked to hang out and talk about metal, party, he's a quintessential thrash metal maniac,
Hey, and there's also a little bit of a story I like to start about. In 1989, you actually quit Hirax and were replaced by another legend, Paul Baloff, from Exodus.
Yeah.
You returned in 1998, 10 years, 11 years later. What? No, 9 years later.
Yeah.
What was the reason you left? And because for me, Paul Baloff is a legend. I have it on my arm. I have here an Exodus tattoo. I love Exodus. I love Paul Baloff. But for me, Hirax is you. For me.
Yeah. No, it's great. I mean, the thing that's cool, like with Paul Baloff, me and him it was a great thing. Like we got along great. So even when he was in Hirax, I wasn't mad at all. I was actually happy for them, because I'm like, if you're gonna replace me and you get somebody like Paul Baloff, that's awesome. I actually wish they would have recorded. I mean, if there are any recordings they haven't surfaced, I would love to hear Hirax with Paul Baloff singing. That'd be very interesting. But we never had anything bad to say between each other. We always got along. I mean, I even went to his wake, which was like, they call a wake. Some people call it a funeral. But I went to Paul Baloff's wake.
I was on his funeral, on his graveyard.
Yeah, I respect the guy. I love what he did. I mean, that first record, there'll never be another record like that. That first Exodus record is a masterpiece.
The best.
So you're not going to hear me say anything. Yeah, nobody's going to hear me ever say anything bad about Paul, because for one, we were friends and he was a really good guy. And he's a hell of a front man. I mean, nobody had the stage presence he has. His stage presence is 100% Paul Baloff. Great guy. I mean, even up until he died, I saw him a few years before that, and he was still very cool. We got along. Even when he was in a band called Piranha, he was also in Hirax for a little bit. But I love the guy. But I came back. Basically, I left too, mainly because I was just frustrated with the music business. If you let it get to you, it can. And I was really more frustrated because, you know, back in the 80s, there was a lot of partying going on, not just me, but all the bands. We raged. And it's not really, you know, as you get older, you understand it better, but it's harder to get along when some people are drunk, some people are on drugs, and I'm not putting anybody down. I'm just saying that it's not the best recipe to run a band when people are too wasted. And so, and it was also a business thing, like learning the business is really crazy. There's a lot of management stuff going on, different tours. So I left for a little bit, but then I also quickly realized that Hirax, and that's why I'm still doing it to this day, is my baby. Like, that's my child. It's and also the fans over the years have made me realize that, like, it's my life. It really is. Like, some people do music just for the hell of it, but this is every day, 24/7 for me. I answer the fans. I answer all the interviews. Even when we're on tour, I get up at 8 in the morning, whatever it takes to do interviews before the concerts, because it's part of it. It's, you know, if you're going to be a musician, it's not always going to be easy. In fact, most of the time, it's really harder than people realize. But back to the whole Paul Baloff thing, nothing but respect for him. He's actually one of my favorite out of all the thrash metal singers. There's a lot of great singers, but to me, Paul's one of the best. I'd put him in the top 5, easy.
True. I'm in good contact with Rick Hunold, of course. You know him too. And I did a lot of interviews with him, a row of interviews, and a really cool guy. To me, one of the nicest and coolest underrated guitarists and people from the metal scene. I love Rick Hunold. But he told me Paul Baloff was a guy who actually had no real place to live. He lived on the concerts. You know, he was on every concert, and he was everywhere. And he didn't need anything. You know, no, he didn't need anything. Just metal concerts and party. You know, that's what's all. Metal is it's all what he needs. You know, that's, you know.
I would say that Rick is telling the truth 100%. Paul, totally like that. I don't think he thought about all those material things. He just cared about metal. He really was true to the metal thing. Like, you hear people say they're into metal, but now this guy lived, ate, and slept and checked that stuff. I mean, he really was into it. And even up to the day he died, he was metal, you know, like, so yeah, I mean, it's great to see the respect he gets now. Like, I even, check this out.
Yeah.
Even I have one of these.
I have it too, that doll.
Yeah. So, I mean, that shows you how much I love the guy. And to me, he's an important piece of the thrash metal history. I think when people talk thrash metal, they should definitely always remember to pay him a little bit of respect.
Cool. I was on his graveyard in El Cerrito.
Okay, that's the one place I haven't visited yet. Like, when we did the wake for his, you know, his funeral, if you want to call it that, the wake was done in San Francisco. In the city. It was actually at the DNA Lounge. That's what it was at, and it was pretty heavy. Everybody got up and talked about him. Gary Holt got up and talked about him, which was really great. And I know that those guys know how special Paul is. Paul's kind of similar to Cliff Burton, the very special person. And I mean, they knew each other, but they both had their own thing, their own personality. So I have nothing but much respect for both those guys, you know?
Yeah, cool. Hey, and Hirax always had many lineup changes through the years. Why was that?
Well, mainly, you know, when if you're not doing, like, say, like Slayer or Metallica, it's kind of hard to keep band members, because at the end of the day, it does come down to survival, and survival is also financially a thing. Like, you got to be touring regularly. We weren't touring regularly, so some guys have to leave. And, you know, obviously, I would love to keep the same lineup if it's possible, but to keep the band going, I've had to make changes over the years, just because some guys couldn't go on. Some of them are married, or they have families, or they have kids. It's not the easiest lifestyle to keep touring around the world. luckily, me and my wife love this. We put everything we have into doing Hirax. So, hopefully lineups will stay intact, and but I have to do whatever it takes to keep the machine rolling. But I mean, I like you said, I wish that there weren't as many lineup changes, but after 40 years, it kind of makes sense, and some people change. Some people don't want to go on the road anymore. Some guys just want to do studio work. Some guys just want to tour. Luckily, at this moment, I have some great guys that like touring, so that's what we're doing. And it's just a tough lifestyle. For me, I'm such an animal. I love this stuff. I love flying, and even, well, I wouldn't say I love flying, but I do it because I love playing the concerts.
Yeah. Your wife always joins you.
Yeah, she's been an important part to why Hirax is around. I mean, she's worked with me on it for 25 years.
Okay,
And,
cool.
Even though
Anna.
Anna, she's Norwegian, and
really? Okay.
yeah. So for the whole time we've been together, we've worked on Hirax. Even though the Hirax has been together 40 years, and some, she's been with me 25, and the whole 25 years we've been together, she's helped me with this, and she's a big part of it. A lot of people don't realize that there's always people behind the scenes with bands. It's not just me. My wife is very involved in the technical aspect, helping us tour, making sure that each band member gets on the plane, plane tickets, all that stuff. And to me, she's like one of the band members herself. She sleeps in the tour bus, sleeps in the tour van, whatever it takes to get this band rolling,
Cool. Hey, and now I like to give you the opportunity to tell you what the current lineup is of the band.
Okay.
Who's in the band? Yeah, who's in the band now?
Yeah, a few local musicians from LA. Our drummer Emilio Marquez, and he's been around. He's played in Assassino, Possessed. He's played in a few bands, and he's a great drummer. We're lucky to have him, and it's going to be great touring with him because he's one of those guys who can play. He's a great musician, and so I'm looking forward to taking him out on tour. And then we have our bass player, Jose Gonzalez. He's like the newest guy, but he's been playing in LA bands for quite some time, and he's definitely the right guy he plays bass for Hirax. And then there's Neil Metcalf. He's our lead guitarist, and he's been with me quite a while now. So, yeah, we're just fired up to be able to go out there and tour, and it's on the verge, the eve of our new album. Right now it's being mixed in Florida. I can't say who's mixing it because it's a secret at the moment, but I will tell you this: when people find out who produced this record and mixed it, they're going to be blown away. Like, it's been in the can, like we've had it finished for a year, so it's kind of been going through a lot of stuff to make this record happen, but it's almost here, and I'm really proud of the record. I just can't wait for it to be released because I want to let it do the talking. I don't really want to be one of those guys that says, oh, it's great and all that. I think the fans need to hear it, and then they can make their decision. I think it should always be up to the fans to what they think of the record. It's like you get a lot of musicians that hype their records and say it's really good, but it really, at the end of the day, it's up to the fans. When they hear it, they're going to let us know what they think, but I think they're going to be pleasantly surprised. It's a piece of work, I can tell you that, and it's definitely different and creative. Like it's one of our probably most original records we've ever done.
What you recently released, the faster than
the rehearsals. Well, we did.
This was sounding like so old school, and I love that. But when I showed some, like, you always have people who don't, like, what?
Yeah,
this guy is active for like 45 years and it still sounds like it's like 84, and I'm sure especially a lot of true metal fans and German people will love that stuff. Is it because it sounded so old school?
Yeah, we did that because, for one, we were really proud of the work, and I could live with it. Like sometimes when people release stuff like that, you can't take it back. Once it gets out there, it goes on the internet. But I also wanted people to remember that we are from the 80s, and that's the way we
like that.
and that's the way we did it back in the 80s. Like there were rehearsal tapes, and there were demo tapes. And so we did that, and it helped a lot. Like what's great about it is that first it was released on cassette tape, and it was released in Japan, and it was released in Germany. And then it got so popular, people were like, well, you might as well just do a CD. So then we released it in Japan and Germany on CD, and it sold very well. So, but we made it limited because the album's called Faster Than Death.
Yeah.
And when people finally hear the finished product, I think the people that got the demo are going to be stoked, because then they can go back and listen to the demo and hear the difference between the demo and the final studio album. But like I said, I think they're going to be really surprised, and the producer is top notch. Like we got a very professional.
Is it the same guy who did the Fast and That demo? What's his name? He's from I forgot his name.
Metal Blade?
Yeah.
Bill Matoyer.
Bill Matoyer, yeah. Is it him?
Worked on that. He actually did some of the work on the new record, but the producer that we have now is somebody that's very known. But like I said, I wish I could say that, but I want to.
Scott Burns.
It's something that's got to be saved for when the record comes out.
Don't say it.
But I will tell you this: when you find out, you'll be pleasantly surprised. It's amazing that this guy's producing the record.
Okay, cool. Bill Matoyer is also a great name. He also did some great.
And, I've known him for 40 years, and he's still going to be a good friend. Sometimes you have to make changes, and sometimes things do change. That's like even when like lineup changes and being around for 40 years, there are going to be some things that change. I mean, even when people compare us, like when they bring up lineup changes, it's like, well, yes, but look at a lot of the other bands. A lot of them, if you go back to like Creator or even Exodus, there's been changes, And like you brought up Rick Hunolt, great guy, great player. He's never, in my mind, going to be forgotten because he's a very important part of Exodus too. Like when you listen to the guitar work, some of the best guitar work Exodus did was between Rick and Gary.
Yeah,
I mean,
great
duo. The catalog's great. So like there's going to be changes, but like with the producer thing, this happened for the right reasons, and I think it was a really good thing because it gave us a fresh perspective. Like even listening to the mixes that are happening now in Florida, there's stuff that people are going to hear.
Is it Scott Burns?
No, but that's a good guess. That's a really good guess, but it's
not. I love the death metal Scott Burns produced. Oh man, Malevolent Creation of all this stuff.
I'll tell you this. In the future, that's not out of the question, but I will tell you this. This is great to know too. So this shows you how much work we put into this new record. Faster Than Death is our blood, sweat, and tears. Like we've done a lot of records, but this record we put so much into it. It's crazy. Like when one day there'll be a book, and this will be a huge chapter in the book because Faster Than Death was the hardest record for me to ever make out of all the Hirax records, but it's worth it, even though it's the hardest. But we had three people in mind to produce this record. Scott Burns was one of them.
Yeah.
Well, it is being mixed and mastered and produced in Florida. It's not him. But when I do,
Scott Burns, Florida. Morris Sound Studio.
When it's done, I will tell you. But two other guys that we had in mind besides Scott Burns. One was Jeff Waters from Annihilator.
Oh, really? Okay.
He was in consideration to mix this record, but that didn't happen also because he's getting ready to go on tour. So, and he had just finished like a few of his own solo records. So he was like done working in the studio, and now he's going on tour. So that didn't work out. And the other guy, besides the guy that did take the job and is doing the job, the other guy was going to be Tom G. Warrior, but he's also got a very busy schedule too.
From Hellhammer.
So can you imagine? I mean, that's great already just to think of these people that we're we're talking about. Scott Burns, Tom G. Warrior from Hellhammer or Celtic Frost or Triptychon, and then Jeff Waters from Annihilator. So those are some really great people that we had in consideration. But the guy that's doing it, holy shit. So yeah, what's funny. Normally, I don't even keep these things quiet, but this is the right time for me not to say anything because he's a very professional producer. He's done records that everybody that's in the metal have in their record collection. I can tell you that. So he's serious. Like he's one of the top producers of all time when it comes to
Brian
metal.
Slagle.
Nope, but I'm not going to tell you anyways. But
Okay.
what's so great about it is that he's somebody that everybody knows, but I just got to keep it under wraps for now. But
Okay.
I'll just tell you this: it's a great surprise. I'm not kidding.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, go continue. Hey, I was really you were here in the Netherlands with crack Interthrashionals. How did you like it? Did you enjoy it?
Well, it was tough. It was one of the toughest things I've ever had to do because it was kind of short notice.
Yeah.
And then also, as we got closer to doing the Bay Area Thrash International, Interthrashional.
The Bay Area Interthrashional, yeah.
I originally signed on to do 3 songs, or maybe even just 2, but at the most I was supposed to do 3 songs. And then as it got closer, more songs were added. So it just made it tough because we're doing songs that are legendary songs. And I felt a lot of pressure. Everybody knew that I felt pressure to do that because
yeah, we saw it.
When you have that many songs, I ended up having 7 songs that I had to do that day. So, but also I cared so much about it. That was probably the thing. You're the first person I'm really talking to about this, and it makes sense because you're in Holland and that's where the shows were at.
And I invited all you guys at my place. You remember?
I would have loved to have come, and I'll tell you another reason I didn't come is because for one, I was still going over the songs. I was going over the songs on the plane flying from the United States to there because, like I said, I cared so much. Like I know how diehard the fans are in Holland. I mean, even when I got to the festival, this is something people don't know about. When I got to Dynamo, I was waiting in the VIP line to get my passes to come in, and some guys had flown in from England just to see me do that. So I felt a lot of pressure. Not that it's not a good thing. Like sometimes there's pressure when you do music. But probably the most pressure I've ever felt my entire life because I cared so much. I respect the Bay Area a lot too because they're a part of California where I live, and I feel like they're like my extended family. Craig and all those guys I've known for decades. I care and respect those guys. But I probably put too much pressure on myself just because I really cared about the songs. I mean, we were doing Megadeth songs and Metallica songs. I mean, these are some of the biggest bands in the world, and we're doing those songs, and especially in front of a big audience like that. But besides that, I felt pressure, but I'm glad I did it. It was an experience I'll never forget. Like sometimes you got to jump into a pit of fire. That's what I felt like I was doing. I jumped into a pit of fire. But working with all those great musicians, there were a lot of great musicians, and obviously coming back to Holland, I'd be a fool not to come back to Holland. I love it there. So, but it was just I felt a lot of pressure. That's the only thing I could probably say that was kind of a negative. But I loved it. The audience was great. The fans are obviously awesome. They're fucking loud, which I love. Like if you're a metal guy, there's nothing better than seeing thousands of people screaming and stuff. And the hospitality is always great there. And again, the food was fantastic. So. No real complaints. Like I said, though, I just felt a lot of pressure, and that's why even after that one, I haven't done any since then because I felt like that was good enough. I did the first one, so no matter what happens going forward, I was on the first one, and I'm proud of that. I'm proud of working with those guys and going over there and doing it. It was just a lot of pressure, man. I don't know what else to tell you. Like 7 songs. And like I said, I didn't really have much time to prepare for him. And I was so busy also at the time working on the new Hirax record. It was like I was juggling that and juggling going over these tunes. And some of the songs were, they're not typical songs. Like we're doing violence songs. We're doing forbidden songs, And so I had to adjust to different styles. And we even did a Death Angel song. So it's like.
Will did one Slayer song. What was it?
Yeah, There was Slayer. We did a couple of Exodus songs.
Yeah.
So you got to think about it. For me, and I have my own style as it is. So
Yeah, true.
I was doing Baloff style. I was doing Mark from Death Angel style. I was doing Rush from Forbidden style. I was doing Dave Mustaine style. Doing James Hetfield style. So it's like all these different styles. And if you think about it, even if you know Metallica, their songs have a lot of lyrics and a lot of changes, you know. So to make the transition from working on my own album and then flying over on a flight to Holland and the whole time going over lyrics on the plane with my headset on, you know, it was a bit stressful. But I mean that should be the case when you're doing 7 songs in front of thousands of people, you know. That, you know, we're talking about very known songs. I mean, we did Whiplash.
And everybody knows what if you make one step wrong, everybody knows this song. So everybody
for sure. And it wasn't the most perfect because that's, you know, we didn't have a lot of time to even rehearse. I mean, I rehearsed with them once, and it was only where we had like a short amount of time. We basically rehearsed before Death Angel because they played the club show in Holland.
Yeah, on Friday.
I think we had maybe an hour, and I might have got up and did a couple of songs. I mean, we didn't have much time. But I think the overall performance went over well. People enjoyed it and they had a good time, and that's really what matters. The fans never really know all the behind the scenes stuff. You know, they don't know.
But it's good to tell them now.
Yeah, well, I'm just being honest. I mean, I think that's the best way to do it. But I will say I played with some of the best musicians on the planet. So being able to play with all those guys, and they all are top-notch players. I mean, bottom line is I played with some incredible musicians, so that made it worth it right there, you know.
Cool. I was already because the Bay Area Interthrashionals come back next year on Dynamo this year. So I was already curious, like, would Katon would be in this year, or?
You know, I love those guys, but I think they're doing fine, and they should bring in other guys, and maybe even do it that way all the time. Maybe they should rotate singers. But for me, I would much rather, if I were to do it, I would rather do less songs. It just makes it, like I said, if you're doing 7, they probably did, I don't know, 10 songs, and I did 7 out of the 10. That's a lot, you know. Especially, like I said, changing different styles. But, you know, it worked out. But I think I'm good. Like, I wish them the best with that, and I hope it goes over even better. I hope that they, because I know that they're always changing the set list. So who knows what the new set list will be like for that. But, you know, there's a lot of good people involved. The festival's great. Like
Dynamo.
How do you guys say it? You guys say it different than my English pronunciation. Dynamo?
Dynamo, yeah. Dynamo.
Yeah, Dynamo. So, it's a great festival, and I think they know what they're doing. They get the entertainment right, and I'm sure it's going to be good again. But like I said, for me, I'd rather. Also, I like doing my own stuff. Like if I come back one day, it'll be to play a Hirax set there. That's what I would want to do.
Okay, cool. Hey, about coming back, please tell me about your upcoming tour. I saw the Netherlands is included 3 or 4 shows.
Yeah, we're coming back.
Spread the news, please.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull up because I gotta actually look at this myself. I know that we're gonna be in Holland. Let me see here. Yeah, it's probably in the middle of the tour. So
yeah,
here we go. Gosh. This is so big. Like we're doing it all quick though. Like we're playing almost straight, like for 2 weeks. Most bands take a few days off. I think we'll be lucky if we get 1. But the Netherlands. Yeah, we're doing at least. I think there's at least 2 shows, and I know that they're gonna add probably another. I don't know for sure if it's Holland, but because what happens with these tours is people get excited once the first dates are released. And then they usually end up adding a couple. Because I know we're starting in Germany on August 3rd. We're starting at Wacken. Then we'll be going through Poland. We're doing 2 shows in Poland. This is all through August. And then the Czech Republic will be landing at the Brutal Assault Festival in Czech Republic. And then Vienna, Austria. then we go through Germany, and Germany's always great. You know, I mean, it's heavy metal. You know, and then by that time we end up after Germany, we go to Belgium, and we'll be at the Thrash Festival. And then London, we're going over to London for a couple of shows. We'll go over there, and I think we're doing 1 or 2 shows with Exodus, so that's always good. You know, we'll see those guys again.
Mhm.
And after we go to London, we come to Holland, the Netherlands.
Yeah.
We'll be there. And then we're doing 2 shows in Holland. And then Germany, 1 last show there. And then I think that's with Flotsam and Jetsam. And then we're finishing in France. And then after that, we'll fly back to the States and do some shows with Sodom. So we've got a pretty tight schedule.
I hope it's not when I'm in America, because I go to America in early September.
Yeah, I think we'll be over there before then. But when you come to America, if you're in California, look me up.
I'm in New York, so.
Okay, well, next time.
Next time, for sure. You always welcome here too. Like last time, I invited you, but you told me the story why you couldn't come. But please, if you are in Tilburg.
I was so focused on that festival, like seriously, the Bay Area and Interthrashional. Even that night that everybody went to your house, I was at the hotel studying, going over the lyrics. I mean, I really, I didn't want to have to look at the teleprompter. I wanted to be able to move around on the stage and have the songs in my head. But I will tell you this: when you're in front of that many people and you're juiced up, you know, like more of it's like you kind of just get this energy from the audience. So you just kind of lose yourself in the songs, and that's, you know, that just happens to musicians like me. But it was worth it. Like I said, I felt like I had so much to give to the people there in Holland. That's why I put so much time in going over the songs, and I might have probably overstressed myself, but it was worth it because I wanted to give a good show.
Cool.
So next time I will come to your house. There won't be such. It was a really tight schedule. I mean, even we had to practice at the club there in Holland. I forget the club. What's that club that's there?
In Tilburg? No, in Holland.
Yeah.
In Tilburg? In my town?
Wherever the venue is that Death Angel played the warm-up show at.
That's the Dynamo club.
Yeah, we had rehearsal there. So, I mean, everything was just basically about rehearsals and studying the songs. That's why I didn't come out to your party. I would have loved to come to your party and also check out your record collection.
Yeah. Next time you do it, okay? Please.
Okay.
You're welcome. Hey, what were the craziest moments for you on the road during your life?
There's many, but guys, you know, I always try to think about this because I know I'm going to get asked this question. And when it happens, it's like, which one do I start with? I don't know. I mean, we've been through storms. I mean, we played. This is back to Holland. One year we played in Holland, and it was what was it, Stonehenge?
Yeah. Stonehenge, yeah.
Yeah, we played Stonehenge one year in Holland, and like I said, every time we play Holland, we look forward to playing there because the fans are great, and you know, it's just a great country for Hirax to play in. Mm-hmm. So we're playing this festival. It was great, packed, full of people. And right after we played, it started raining hard, like more than usual. Like it rains in Europe and people are used to it, but it was so bad. I don't know what we did. We were able to finish our set and the place was great. People went crazy, but it started to rain. And then thunder started and there were lightning bolts, lightning strikes, and they evacuated the whole festival. It was the first year this has ever happened, where the festival was over. And that was probably one of the craziest things because we were backstage and they were like saying, we've got to evacuate because we're afraid somebody's going to get hit by lightning bolts. It was kind of scary. I mean, to see that many heavy metal bands that are full of tough people being afraid for their lives. And so it was getting so bad. The storm was blowing stuff over. It was knocking over tents. So everybody rushed back to the hotel. And that's basically, we just ended up hanging out with a lot of the bands at the hotel. But that was one of the scariest times we've ever played. Like near the end of our set, the rain was starting to come down, but it really got heavy right after we stopped playing.
Oh well, thank you for the story. It's also about the Netherlands. So
Yeah, it's crazy, but
yeah,
that's a true story. I mean, you can even check the history of that
yeah, I
festival.
know that. I remember that. I remember that. I remember that. Hey, about I'm something I know already. You're a true heavy metal maniac, like Exciter, heavy
Yeah.
metal maniac. Do you still follow? Yeah, awesome. Do you still follow the new scene? And what are your personal favorites in new old school metal, like new wave of true metal? Do you still follow this stuff?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard not to because when you're like a legendary thrash metal band, you get to hear about the newer bands that are coming
Hmm.
up. Some of them aren't so new now, but they're new to me because I'm older. So, like,
Yeah,
band that's been around, say, 10 or 15 years, I consider them new, which is
yeah,
fun.
true.
But I would say the bands that I've paid attention to over the last 10, 15 years, there's a band from Ireland called Gamma Bomb.
Gamma Bomb, yeah.
They're pretty damn good. There's a band from Brazil called Violator that
Yeah, awesome band.
yeah, I think they're very good. Let me think here. This is some good questions. Who else? Oh, there's a band from Sweden called FKU.
The crossover band.
Yeah, I dig them a lot. They're actually
Yeah.
really good. There's another band called Doctor Living Dead.
Also
They're
from
from Sweden.
Sweden. Also
Yeah,
crossover. Yeah.
yeah. So I like a mix of like the metallic crossover stuff as well. But out of the newer bands, I would say Gamma Bomb and Violator I like quite a bit. There's some other legendary bands that I like to give credit to those bands as well. But there's a band called Sabbat from Japan, Metal Lucifer from Japan, Abigail, they're from Japan.
Yeah.
Uh, you got me. That's a good question. I gotta kind of think about this, but trying to think who else.
You know
I
this
don't.
band from Are you familiar with this band from Belgium, Evil Invaders?
Yeah, yeah. You know what's great? I love to hear about bands like them too. And what's cool is I've seen those bands come up because they would be opening festivals that we'd be
Hmm.
playing, and I'd say, "Who's this young band?" But they played with us, I believe, in Holland and Belgium.
Yeah.
They were
The singer is one of my best friends. So
yeah, they were really good. So tell him I said hello because they were
yeah,
one. I'm actually glad you brought those guys up because they were one of the newer bands that I actually thought were good, and I've seen that they've gotten better. So tell them that I have paid attention, and I know
yeah.
they've gotten better and they've gotten bigger too, which that takes work to do. So they're definitely working their asses off. But yeah, they're a good band. Thanks for bringing them up. And like I said, that's what's great about touring. We get to see bands like them. There's another band that works pretty hard from here. They're kind of a crossover thing too, but they're called Toxic Holocaust.
Oh, they're great too.
Yeah, so
With
I mean, there's probably newer bands, but for me, those are the newer bands, just because I mean I remember them coming up and seeing them from the beginning. Like you brought up Evil Invaders. I remember when they were like the opening act, and they've
yeah,
come a long
awesome.
ways. So yeah, that's great. And like I said, tell them horns up and much respect.
You also have to check out another band. It's also a very good friend of mine, the singer, and he's also known in. He has also like he's also a black guy, the singer. So you couldn't miss it, because and the band is called the Night Eternal. They're from Germany, and
Okay.
they are awesome. They're really
Oh,
awesome. Check them out. The Night Eternal. They have a black singer and who's a total maniac. The music is a little bit in Solitude. Tin Lizzy. In Solitude also a great new band.
yeah.
Yeah, this band from Germany, the Night Eternal. Check them out. They're awesome. This singer has so much energy on stage. The musicians are great. The whole entire band is totally awesome.
I'll look them up on your suggestion. Okay.
Do it. And there are so many bands. I could send you a list full of bands where you have to check out. Also from the Netherlands, Germany, and Belgium. We have a lot of cool bands here around there.
I know there's a couple of really good bands from Spain as well. I can't think
Mhm.
of the top of my head, but I know Spain has some good new bands. There's this one band. I know that their record's right down there. I'm trying to also focus on you, but
From
um,
Spain?
I'm trying to think. The fuck are they called?
Hidden.
Is there a band called Iron Curtain from
Yeah, Iron Curtain also together with Hitten. There's also a Spanish band. So it's the same
So,
guys. Yeah.
so my memory's not too shitty. So
Yeah.
Iron Curtain. So I'm familiar with that stuff, and
Yeah.
I always try to keep up on it. But there's so much that's coming at us musically. We're always hearing about so much different stuff. But no, that I love to hear about new bands, and some of the bands you find out about later because, like I said, there's so much. I mean, even when you're at a metal market, there's only so many records you can buy or carry.
Yeah, true. Check out the band. Check also out a Mexican band called Black Mask. It's a band
Okay.
from Mexico with a female singer. It's their new band from Mexico. I saw them last week in Germany. Great band, female fronted, speed metal, awesome.
There's another band I can mention from Mexico called Strike Master. They're pretty damn good.
Oh
too.
yeah, I have CDs of them too.
And there's a band they're older, but they've been around for a bit, but they deserve more credit. There's a band called Witch Trap, and they're from Colombia.
Yeah, they're great too.
Yeah, so
more blacky trash.
Yeah. So I try to keep up as much as I can, but I'm also an old school collector. So like when I go to record stores, I'm usually looking for like old 70s and 80s metal. But I do like to be turned on to new bands. And like I said, some of the bands that I mentioned, they were bands that either I saw open for us or I heard through the pipeline of music, and I thought pretty damn good. I just like to hear stuff that's got integrity. That's the main thing I look for. Production's one thing, but I think guys like us have been around so long that when you hear music, you can pretty much tell, if it's got integrity or not. That's the main thing I look for. Production can be a little dirty and a little raw. That doesn't bother me. But it's still the music's got to come from the right place,
When they were at my place, the Americans from Bay Area Interthrashional, I gave them some records to pass on you. Did they pass my records on you?
You just got them in trouble because I don't remember seeing any records. Well, next time I'll come and get them in my own hands, and that way I'll make sure that I bring them back home. But
they were probably so busy with everything and that they probably forgot.
It's okay. I'd rather come and personally get them from you myself, anyways.
Do it. Hey, well. How does your life look like back home?
Well, I'm happily married. That's a good thing. I've been with the same woman for 25 years, and she's not just my best friend. She's like my confidant. Everything that I do with Hirax, I run by her. She's a great person to talk to about these things. She really pays attention. She's also a better musician than me. She plays.
Really?
Yeah, she plays piano. She can write music. She's amazing. She can read music. I can't even read music. I mean, I can make music, but I can't read, write it out or any of that stuff. But so I'm happily married. I just try to, when I'm not doing music, I try to do things that keep me active, try to get exercise, things like that, and try to eat better. Like over the years, as you get older, you got to take better care of yourself. I can't drink like I did when I was in my 20s,
Yeah.
So now it's a lot more about taking better care of myself, especially with these tours that like this tour that we have coming up of Europe in August. That's going to be a brutal tour. We're playing almost every day for almost 3 weeks. So, and now I'm 60. It's not like I'm 25, but I'll be all right. I don't even complain about these things. I'm just saying I put a lot more preparation. I think that's the difference now in my life. I put a lot more preparation in what I'm doing. And like I said before, I care so much that I really put a lot of time and effort to what we're doing. And I'm probably in a better place now because I really love the music. I'm doing it for the right reasons. I care about the fans, and that should be always a focus of a musician. I think a lot of musicians forget about the fans, and I definitely haven't. So I even after we play, not normally before we play, but after we play, I usually come out at the concerts and try to talk to people because I think the fans deserve to be able to see the musicians. I don't think you should hide from the fans. But before the shows, the main reason I don't come out is because people want to get me hammered and drunk, and that's not the way to do a show. I want to give people their money's worth. So that's why normally I don't come out before the show. I like to give them a good show, and then I'll come out and we can do a little bit of partying afterwards, But yeah, it's just important to me to, be focused. I'm real focused now, and I try to do a better job at what I do. And also on the personal level, just trying to be a better husband, be a better man to my wife, because she's been there for me. I mean, not too many women will put up with going on the road and touring and doing all this crazy stuff, because even though it's a little bit mellower than it was in the 80s, living and traveling with a band is wild. I mean, we go to bed at maybe 3 or 4 in the morning. We're up early driving on the tour bus or the van, whatever we're in, mobile home. We're usually traveling by 6 o'clock minimum, to the next city. Sometimes we don't even stop. Like, we'll play the show and get right in the bus and go to the next city. So it's a lot of hard work, but I don't mind. The fans don't know about all that. So there's no reason in crying about being tired or sick, because that happens too. Like, you'll be traveling in different weather. Sometimes Italy will be really hot, and then you'll go to another country where it's raining. And so as a human, as a vocalist, your vocal cords go through a lot on those tours. But I love what I'm doing. I mean, I'm actually really excited about the new album. It's our 6th studio album, and having this new tour. This is the first time we've been back to Europe in a while, like doing a full tour. So I'm excited.
Cool. You what you're telling about your health and your that's tough to survive. Like my friend Joe, the singer of Evil Invaders, he told me last week. I said, I am in my 30s, and I cannot believe these guys like double age like me. They're in the 60s and they're still do this. I'm 30, and I feel already tired. He told me so he was very, very much looking up, like, whoa, these guys, they are like double my age, and they still do this. He was really he spoke a lot of respect that these guys still do this on this age, like you and even older guys.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Like, now I look at it way differently, and I respect a lot of the musicians, especially when I know they're even older than me, because it really does take a lot. And you got also mentally, it's not just physical, it's also mental. Like, do you really want to do this? Like I said, the fans don't see all the stuff, but like, even just flying, some of those airplane flights are 15 hours.
Mm-hmm.
We had a layover one time where we were laid over in Russia for 9 hours, just sitting inside the airport in Russia for 9 hours. We've traveled around the clock. We've driven 9 hours to get to Portugal. We've, driven 8 hours to get to the Czech Republic from certain parts of Germany. People don't realize some of those drives are, and the bus is moving the whole time. You don't really sleep that well. Mm-hmm. But you know what makes it worth it? It when you see the fans, when you get to the show and everybody's happy. I mean, I can remember so many concerts where we show up and there's people happy, or even they're crying because they're emotional about us being there. So it makes it worth it. The fans inspire us. I think a lot of it comes down to, even when we play live, we are tired. Sometimes we haven't had any sleep, but as soon as we see the fans, we know that we've got to give them a good show. So that's mandatory. I mean, I don't think any musician goes on tour unless they're just doing it for the money or they're phoning it in. Like, that's an old saying that we use here in America, like, oh, he's just phoning it in, which means he's just up there pretending like he's into it. But not with us. I mean, I wouldn't be there if I wasn't giving it 100%. I do it every show we do. I give it 100%. I'll tell you something real personal. That's a good one. My wife, pretty much every time before we go on stage, she pulls me aside and says, please don't kill yourself. She says that to me basically every night that we play, and I kind of, but she's right. You got to kind of pace yourself, because the shows, like, even for us now, we play minimum 45 minutes, but that 45 minutes is basically an hour and a half crammed into 45 minutes. So we put a lot into it. I mean, we rehearse more than we even play on stage. Like, we go over the material a lot. There's a lot of rehearsing that goes into these shows, even just for a 45-minute set.
It's the same like with the guy of Exploited, the Wacky, that he sometimes he's on tour with the Exploited, and then sometimes he cannot do a show, or he just have to step because he's actually, these guys, and also like you, they are so into it that even it, yeah.
It's tough. It really is. But like I said, for me, it's still worth it. I think also because I've been fortunate that I'm one of those singers that actually does come out and I talk to the fans, and
Uh-huh.
plus it's inspiring. Like the stuff that has been said to me is amazing. Even the last show we did in Chicago, people drove 8 hours from other cities, 6 hours just to come see us play.
Cool.
Even during our show in Chicago, one of the kids got hurt, and he wanted to see the show so bad he wouldn't even leave the slam pit, even though he could barely walk. I'm like, what is this guy doing? He should go off to the side and help, seek some help, But he wanted to see the show so bad that even though he got hurt, he didn't leave the slam pit. I thought he was crazy.
Yeah.
But I see that passion and that love for us, and that's always inspiring me. I mean, that's why I have no complaints. I've got to play the show whether I'm tired or not, whether I've had any sleep. Like even when we fly to Europe, a lot of times we'll fly over to Europe. It takes 15 hours, and then we're there, and we've got a show that night, or maybe if we're lucky, we have the show the next day, so we might get a little bit of sleep. But we normally don't have much time to sleep. Like, I'll tell you real quick. I got to tell you this. Even this tour that we have coming up,
Yeah.
I got a message from Juan Garcia from Agent Steel and Body Count.
Yeah.
He said, "You guys are doing 12 shows in a row with no rest." I said, "Yeah." He couldn't believe it.
No, it's a lot. It's insane. But I also think it's insane for a smaller band, like not to be negative, but Hirax is kind of an underground band. And it's even harder, I think, than for a band like Iron Maiden, because they have the best hotels, they have the best food, they have the gym, they have a lot of things, and you have to struggle with bars, like little clubs, and cheap hotels, cheap pizzas, shawarma, all kind of fast food you get. It's different.
Sometimes we have to sleep in the van or the mobile home or the bus. So
That's
you really have to have hunger, and you have to have fight. Like you have to really be tough. It's not easy. And that also goes back to that question of why have you been through lineup changes? Some guys can't handle it. Like,
No.
I mean, see, some of those flights are so long that you almost lose your mind because you're in a capsule. You're inside of, how it is when you come to the United States, that's a long flight. So you're inside of this airplane in a capsule with say 200, 300 other people or 100 and something other people. And it's taxing. It takes time. And like you actually, a lot of people don't realize you're almost losing time out of your life because you're going back in time or you're going forward in time, know? But like I said, I love this stuff. I wouldn't still be doing it if I didn't love it. I love the fans, obviously. I mean, one time we were walking into the airport in Belgium, and this guy that worked at the airport said, "Thank you for bringing humanity to Belgium." And that right there was good enough for us. That made us feel really good, So nice. we bring people together. I mean, that's great. You're bringing people together from different countries, different cities. It's amazing.
Cool. Hey, and what are your future plans, and what can us metalheads expect from Hirax?
The new album and the tours, but I want to get right back to writing. I think also that's another thing that's happened since I've gotten older. I want to make more records before I can't, some more studio albums. Because even when I look at like with Hirax's career compared to a lot of other bands, we don't have as many records. Like most of these bands, if you look at a lot of the other bands, they have like 18 albums. We've got maybe half of that. But also we were gone for a while. So like I've got some catching up to do, but I'd like to write some more music, do a lot more touring, and also go to countries that we haven't gone to. I'd like to go to say Southeast Asia. We haven't done Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, Thailand. And once the world calms down, I'd even like to go to Russia. I wanted to go there before all this stuff started, but I try not to get involved in the politics. I'm more about the people and the fans. There's good Russian people. There's good Ukrainian people. I love all the countries. I don't want to, I don't even want them to fight each other. I think it's sad,
Yeah.
but I do want to be able to travel to all the countries, and because there's good people in every country. I think that we all need to remember that there's not everybody's bad from one country. You know what I mean? There's good people in every country, and I think that music's for everybody. So I'd like to keep spreading my music all over the world. Like I said, I want to go to more territories that we haven't played, but I also want to go back to a lot of the other countries. I obviously want to go back to Holland. I want to go back to Japan. Japan's one of my favorites. South America's great. All of Europe. Europe, we always just have a great time. I mean, there's not enough time to do all of Europe because it's so big. Like there's so many different countries, So, but in time, I'd like to hit as much as we can and keep traveling.
Oh, I see.
So yeah.
Thank you. I was looking at your T-shirt, but I couldn't see it. But now I see pentagram. Yeah.
Oh, okay. There you go. Sorry.
Yeah, you were all the time like just what's this pentagram? Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
I just didn't know if you want my head cut off or what. So that's why I was kind of doing that. But
yeah.
It's hard for me to see what you're seeing on your end. And on my end, I can see all your CDs and everything. It's a great collection.
Yeah.
Talk about CD mania. And there's the vinyls. I bet you they're probably all through the house.
Yeah, in my hall too. Yeah, I've seen the pictures probably.
Yeah.
Hey,
huh? Go ahead.
No, just you go ahead too.
No, I appreciate you asking all these in-depth questions. You're asking some really good questions, and it's about stuff that I really care about. So thank you.
You're welcome. And I want to give you the opportunity to give a final last words for something I maybe forgot.
Well, we're coming back. We're going to come back to Europe. Europe's always going to be important to us. Like I said, back to Holland. Holland was there for us before a lot of the other countries. I think the only other country that was like right away besides the United States was Holland and the UK. The UK picked up on us very early. Okay. Holland, like you said, you brought up that fanzine. Holland was some of the first fanzines we were in. So yeah. I try never to forget those countries that supported us from the very beginning, since like 1984 minimum. Yeah. So so we'll be back to touring. A new album, Faster Than Death. That will be something special. And then hopefully, after we do some of that touring, back to Europe, come back to the States, get back to writing another record. But I mean, this record's going to be probably the next couple of years we'll be touring on it. There's going to be a lot of places we got to go to. We still got to go back to Mexico. South America is very big. All of Europe, and just keep touring and keep spreading the heavy metal message. And the last thing I'd like to say is just thank you to guys like you and all the fans that support metal. I mean, we're a family, so that, you've got this great community of people that support all the bands and go to the concerts and talk and spread the word. There's still, even though I know there's the internet, still that word of mouth, people talking to each other, turning people on to, like you did today, talking to me about bands that I don't know about, me talking about some bands maybe you don't know about. But it's great that we kind of, that's our communication. We are the computers. We are the internet,
I hate computers, to be honest.
Yeah. You know why I use a computer? It's a necessary evil.
Yeah.
Because I can't write letters. They don't get there fast enough. Like if we were still sending snail mail, it would be way slow. So that's probably the only thing that's good about it. But the only reason that I will tolerate the computers is because the people that are on them are normally good people. So it's great that we can communicate and use this as a tool, But that's pretty much all I want to say is now let's let the music do the talking.
Yeah.
Come out there and play concerts, prove to people that the band's great, and also get the new record out. And we'll be seeing you back in Europe in August. In August, we'll be back there. And then the new record, Faster Than Death, will be out.
Cool. And last question for me. I go to America in September. Not a chance to you play around 10 till 25 September around New York?
Well, with us, there's always a chance because I mean, there are times promoters call us and they're like, "Hey, we want to fly you out to New York," and you never know that could happen. Like we're doing, I think we're doing November, but you never know. I mean, there's always
Okay.
sometimes a festival pops up, but if something's happening, we're going to be in contact, and I will let you
Yeah.
know. Would love for you to come out and see the band.
Cool. I see at least I hopefully in Belgium, Germany, or Holland when you are here.
That would be great, and we'll definitely chat and hang out with each other. Okay.
Yeah, and if you have time, come over to Tilburg and play some records with me and have some good beer, Dutch beer, and have some Dutch steel. You know, like Dutch steel. You know you know the name Dutch steel for Dutch.
What does it mean?
Dutch steel, like heavy metal from Holland.
Okay, that's great. You got to play me some Dutch steel.
I do it. Okay,
All
thank
right,
you.
sir.
Thank you very much for the interview. It was a big pleasure.
Same here. And Marco, thank you for being who you are and supporting the music. You've always been true to metal. You haven't changed. And it was really great having this intimate conversation with you.
Yeah, it was really fun. Thank you very much. And I tell you when it's online, I have to edit some things so it's not. If you give me some links and some videos I can use in the interview to, then that would be nice. Then it saves me time, and it would be also very nice to have your input in it. So do it.
I will. I'll send you some stuff tomorrow. Get some. I think you're starting your day. I'm getting ready to finish my day, and we will talk soon. Okay.
Good. It's 8 o'clock in the morning now.
It's 11 o'clock here at night.
Okay. Good night.
Thank you, brother. We'll see you soon. Okay. See you in
brother.
August.
Heavy metal.
Metal.
Ciao.
Good night.
Hey, see you, brother.
All right, this is the last one of the night. No fucking around. This one is called Bomb to Death.